Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the very first edition of the Mr. Warren Hayes show of the decade. Isn't it crazy? Last year we had the last edition of the decade, and now this week we have the first edition of the decade. What are the odds? What are the odds? They blow my mind, and thank you everyone for being here. I'm Mr. Warren Hayes, of course, just in case you're wondering, maybe you're new here. And this is the Mr. Warren Hayes show, January 2nd, 2019, and there's a very good chance, there's a fair possibility that you're new. Because over the past couple of weeks, I have been, my slight little area of YouTube here has been overtaken by new viewers, new people, new folks appearing everywhere, and it just really made me feel good. Because I have 1,000 viewers on my YouTube channel now, which is fantastic. So welcome to every one of you who has joined over the past couple of weeks. And I'm extremely humbled that all of you came in such large numbers, because I didn't think I was going to finish 2019 with 1,000 followers, to be perfectly honest. But here we are, and it's happened. And I want to thank you all for subscribing in the interim, but mostly, and this is still very important, I still want to thank everyone who's been sticking with me, who stuck with me throughout the entire year of 2019, or even if it's half of 2019, maybe it's just a quarter of 2019, maybe it's 0.263% of 2019, I still appreciate it, and even maybe you've even been here along for the ride since I started in 2018, I appreciate each and every one of you for getting me to this point here. It's not like a million subscribers, but it's still a huge milestone, especially from when I started and wasn't quite sure what I was getting myself into and whether I was going to push on or not. So this is really fantastic. I sincerely appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining me here this evening. Live and supporting me, but also joining me here live on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes, because yes, we record here live every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and that also means that we are accompanied by a wonderful gaggle of folks who are joining me live here in the chat, and that's fantastic as well, because we have people like Tim Travers here, good friend of the show, Tim. Culture Club Wrestling Jackson is here as well. Blaine, the world's most handsome mod, has made a grand return tonight. Benoit Parise is here as well. Mr. Fretz, Aaron Jace fan, Carlos is here. J.S. Brown is here. How you doing? Scott Frame, good to see you, sir. Jonathan of the No Particular Angle podcast, JPQ, good to see you. Robert Larry is here as well. Evangelina Cantu is here too. See what I did there? That's the kind of comedy you come to expect here, and that I'll probably get. Oh, and Chris Jacobs is here as well. Great to see everyone here this evening. It makes me real happy. And if you're watching right now, do consider giving the video a thumbs up here on YouTube. If you're watching it on your own accord, on your own time, a thumbs up is nice as well. That's something that YouTube really appreciates, and I do at the same time. Maybe you're not even watching on YouTube. Maybe you're listening. That's what they're going to be calling YouTube in 2021. They're going to be calling Lulube, and it's going to be really weird, but you're all going to get used to it. So maybe you're listening to this on a podcast application, because the Mr. Warren Hayes show is also available in podcast format. Thank you for that as well. And why don't you give us a like, a subscribe, a review, whatever it takes to get a bit of love there, a bit of support over that way. Speaking of support, there's the Patreon that exists, patreon.com/MrWarrenHayes, that you can go take a look at. I only have two tiers. I have two tiers. There's one tier that you can show support for the Mr. Warren Hayes show on a monthly basis. Just a little $2, just $2, and you just drop it there, and it's good. Otherwise, you can become a friend of the show, and you get a whole bunch of extra content, and And when you do get that extra content, you are able to are eligible to join the post stream, which happens right after the Mr. Warren Hayes show every Thursday night, which is called Warren is Off the Clock. And tonight on the post stream, I'm going to be running down the NXT year-end awards. Did they do right by us? Did they mess up? I'm going to tell you the truth, because I'm a guy you can believe in. So be sure to do that. And yes, by the way, since I am at 1,000 subscribers now, you can also drop a super chat. And if you drop a super chat, I will read Jan's super chat here live for all to hear. And the honor for the very first super chat in the history of the Mr. Warren Hayes show goes to Aaron J's fan. Thank you very much for the super chat. And he says, first $2 of the year. First $2 of ever, Aaron. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Don't forget tomorrow evening on Sean's YouTube channel, Sean Ross Sapp, Fightful. It's at youtube.com/FightfulSRS. I'm going to be joining Sean for the SmackDown post show. Then this weekend, Wrestle Kingdom. We're going to be talking about Wrestle Kingdom a little later on, but I'm doing post shows on both nights right here on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes. So on night one, and I mean early morning night one, I'm going to be right here recapping the event. Going to be joined by Anthony Suter of the Smart to Death podcast, and I'm be doing the same thing on Sunday, only I'll be joined by JPQ of the No Particular Angle podcast. So be sure that you just click some reminders there on YouTube so that you don't miss out, and set your alarms, brew some coffee, turn on the lights. That's one of my tricks for watching Wrestle Kingdom or any New Japan show. You don't get bundled. You don't snuggle yourself up into a blanket and keep the lights low. You turn on the lights. You get out of bed. You pour yourself whatever beverages you like. Monster Energy drink, although I don't recommend them, but Monster Energy drinks, coffee, tea, whatever it takes to stay awake. That's what you pour. And you pour there, and you enjoy the show. So that's fantastic. I also have and also don't forget to visit belltobells.com for all your women's wrestling news coverage. That's BELLTOBELLES.com, as if I had forgotten it. It's really weird. So be sure to head on over there. That's fantastic. Women's wrestling. All the great stuff there. We even have a podcast that you can find on our very first podcast on your favorite podcast application as well. We call it In Ring Riot. It's myself, Kristen Ashley, and the owners and promoters of Eve Pro Wrestling, Dan and Emily Reed, talking about wrestling in general, women's wrestling. It was a great time, great listen, and we've got a whole bunch of stuff coming. I've got so much stuff down the pipeline. And one of the things that I want to do in 2020 is I want to try and keep myself down to an hour when it comes to talking about wrestling here. Maybe an hour and a half. But no more hour 30 minutes for your podcast, Warren. That's just ridiculous. Try to save some of your breath. We'll see how it's... That's a resolution. That's officially a resolution. I'll see if I can keep it tonight. Keep me in order, guys and gals in the chat. Jamie Small sends a super chat. Thank you very much. Says, congratulations on the 1K. Keep up the great work. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. We have Trey Willier, who's in the chat. Congratulations. Thank you very much. There we go. Great. So we have all sorts of good stuff to talk. We have, for the first show of the year, I feel we've got some very, very juicy things to talk about this week. Don't we? So let's go right ahead and start the weekly wrestling inspection. We are going to we're gonna start. Let's kick this off. We're gonna kick this off straight off the bat. We're gonna go back to last Friday, and we are going to start giving out some hot trash. Boom, right there to the goddamn Baron Corbin, Daniel Bryan, Miz shenanigans that happened. It just blows my mind. How ridiculous this whole thing was, and what the very definition of what a waste of time is. Let's run down the events here, folks, shall we? Let's go back in time a little bit. Let's back up a wee bit and talk about what happened. We were supposed to get a triple threat to start off the evening, and I was excited. You guys know, start your wrestling shows with a wrestling match. You guys know that's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm looking for. That's what I like. What we got here was not. That's what I thought we were getting. Daniel Bryan full gear in the ring, but then Baron Corbin comes out cutting a promo, and I don't know why he's cutting a promo. But then we realize why he's cutting a promo. It's so that Roman Reigns can come out and attack him. So he gets driven off of the match. The match becomes in limbo. He goes backstage and says, "Take me out of the match. I can't wrestle anymore." Then a little later on, Daniel Bryan and The Miz are like, well, okay, let's do the match. And they start fighting. But then Baron Corbin and his goons hit the ring and they take them out. And then Baron Corbin is like, well, they shouldn't be fighting if I'm not in it. You goddamn ninny. You ninny. You decided to take yourself out of the match in the first place. Ninny. So then in the end, we go back to the triple threat match. It actually happens, but then Roman Reigns, so we come full circle with the triple threat that we were supposed to get at first, got swerved out of for a one-on-one, then swerved back into the triple threat. But then Roman Reigns arrives during the match to drive off Baron Corbin, and we're back to a one-on-one. What a waste of time. This is exactly what a waste of time is. This is a textbook example of terrible WWE storytelling where they're giving you the impression they're telling you a story, but they're just running, they're on a treadmill running on place. Nothing, how was this compelling in any way, shape, or form to be tossed around like that? How much time was wasted just to get us to a match which was the advertised match, but ended up being this match that we were swerved out of? It doesn't make sense to me. This was infuriating. In an otherwise very enjoyable SmackDown. Excuse me, I'm already all caught up here. It's so ridiculous when you think about it. Because we didn't go anywhere. We literally did not go anywhere throughout the proceedings. We just ended up getting a nonsense match. A nonsense match and a nonsense angle. And this kind of swerving and pulling away and giving back, this is some carny crap. Some carny bullshit that I myself am completely done with. Like, absolutely done with. This is 1995 WCW Nitro levels of booking garbage. I am not interested in this anymore. It was this is bad. It is bad storylining. Awful stuff. Very, very awful stuff. And I kind of felt bad for the people who had to sit through all of that in the audience. That it was egregious. However, let's go over here then and give some, wait a second. There we go. Some cool beans. The New Day and Braun Strowman versus Sami Zayn, Shinsuke Nakamura, and Cesaro was anything but bad. That was good. That was really, really good. Cesaro hit a hell of an uppercut on Kofi, who just flew across the commentary table. Kofi had a great SOS on Shinsuke Nakamura as well. Nice wrecking ball dropkick from Cesaro onto Braun on the floor. And the heels, they were just perfect heels throughout, just creating the drama for the match. I loved the moment where Sami Zayn wanted to get in. Like, I think it was Kofi and Shinsuke who were both trying to get the tags to the opposite corners. and Sammy wanted to get in. But the minute that Kofi reached Braun Strowman, Sammy just he jumped off the apron and he was like, nope. And then Braun goes for his running shoulder blocks around the ring and he takes out everyone, but Sammy avoids it. He just dodges out of the way. The last great highlight of 2019, Sami Zayn avoiding the running shoulder blocks. That was fantastic. D&D and Braun win the match. But this was so much fun, though. It was really, really tons of fun. I had a blast watching this match. And it made me wonder, why didn't they just start the show with this match? Because the crowd was super, super hot for it. Really, really hot for it. I would have just never minded the whole opening segment thing and just jumped right into it. It was fantastic. Timothy Wilkinson, hello, and welcome to the chat. Welcome to the chat. Next, let's keep some cool beans going. Let's talk about Otis. Let's talk about Otis Dozovich here for a second. This week, Otis comes over to Mandy and he has a fruitcake. He has a holiday fruitcake that his mom made him so that he could give to Mandy. Now, imagine what happened from the Friday previous to that to this past Friday, where 2 weeks ago, Mandy was giving Otis a ham and giving him a kiss on the cheek. So Otis goes back to visit his mother. Just imagine. And his mother watches. Oh, Otis's mom watches him on TV and she's proud of him. They look at my baby boy on TV, kind of thing. And then he goes over to visit her and she says, that Mandy girl, what a nice girl she was. She's kind of Irish a little bit, has a bit of a slight accent, slight Irish accent. Otis's mom does. What kind of a beautiful, beautiful lady she is, and she gave you a nice present. Why don't Otis, let's say thank you to her, and you can give her one of my fruitcakes that I make every year. And Otis is like, yeah, that's a great idea, Ma. And that's the kind of discussion they had, right? It couldn't have been anything else. He comes over and he says, my mom made this, and she's really happy. And he tries to talk to her, and he can't. And then later on, she gets macked on by, of course, Dolph Ziggler. Of course, it had to be Dolph Ziggler, right? She starts getting macked on by Ziggler, who sees the cake, and he tries to play it down. He says, Otis gives this he gives it to everyone. You're nothing special to him. And Ziggler takes the cake, puts it on the ground, and he steps on it with his Air Jordans, and he goes and he says, those are Air Jordans, by the way. As if, he's flexing the fact that he can step on cake, no problem, Oh, that was so... Okay, I am really, really liking what they're doing with Otis right now. Instead of being some gross weirdo, they're making him real relatable. You actually feel sympathy for the guy. He knows Mandy is completely out of his league, but he wants to be loved just like anyone else. And he's not being creepy about it. He's not being weird about it. He's doing his best with whatever obtuse social skills he has. He's doing his best. And I love what they're doing with them right now. I dig the idea of this love triangle, where there's the three of them, the three of them implicated in here. It'll probably end with Otis getting his heart broken, and that's fine. We're going to root for him more. We're going to want him to completely smush Dolph Ziggler, and that's okay. That's what wrestling is about. I don't know. It works for me. It works for me. The only thing I'd say is I hope they're not going to push the invisible camera stuff too much, because this is a televised show. So, of course, Otis is meant to believe that Mandy smushed the cake. But if Otis goes back to his mom this week, his mom who watches him on every edition of SmackDown, right? She's going to say, Otis, that weird old Vince Neil guy, he stepped all over your cake with his fancy schmancy sneakers. Otherwise, next week, it'll be very improbable for Otis to be like, to still think it's Mandy that might have done this. Very, very improbable. And that's where my suspension of disbelief might erode a little bit. But look, I'm enjoying it so far. More cool beans I'm going to give out here as well to babyface Lacey Evans. Babyface Lacey Evans, folks. I'm liking it. And excuse me. I'm really, really liking babyface Lacey Evans because it suits her first and foremost. It just suits her. The interview that she had with Alexa Bliss was very, very grounded and to the point. It's like, look, this is what you do. You don't mess with my family. And finally, I think I mentioned it last week, but it bears being repeated again, giving your women's wrestlers a reason to feud other than catty bullshit. Sure, I'm absolutely okay with that. I'm 100% okay with that. We've just over the past couple of weeks, we've seen the guys get into feuds or scuffles because of their families. Why couldn't it be the same with Lacey Evans? And honestly, and I don't remember who pointed this out to me, and I apologize if it's someone in the chat or someone on Twitter, I don't quite remember, but when's the last time we had a mother as a WWE superstar, like leaning into that? Because usually, the WWE ladies, the women, I think we're all supposed to assume that they're single. They're like these, they're superstars. They're on a pedestal. They're something that needs to be attained. Maybe, I think we're all supposed to consider that they're available, single out there. I don't remember there actually being someone truly open about being a mother. Maybe aside the Brie Bella. I'm just thinking about it out loud here. Maybe aside Brie Bella. Regardless, this is refreshing, and that it's being incorporated into an angle. It feels good, and it's smartly done, and I like it. And I didn't think I'd like stuff for Lacey Evans as a babyface. By the way, the match, she looked good in it. It catered to her strengths. I don't know if she's improving in the ring. She has to be. You have to be a complete and total picket fence to not improve wrestling by wrestling. But Lacey is really good. The tag team match was really good for Lacey. It played off her strengths. So she looked good. I'm okay with this. I'm looking forward to this. I'm excited to see how this is going to go. Yes. Let's keep going. With some more cool beans. I'm officially, completely, 100% on board with the Seth Rollins and AOP and Kevin Owens and Samoa Joe angle. And I don't know why they're not giving it more time. I love this angle. Adding Joe to it was a stroke of genius. And the way he was included in it was a stroke of genius. If you think back over the past couple of weeks before he actually stood up to the AOP, he was talking about them. He was calling them thugs. He was saying that these were bad guys. They were already planting seeds. I kind of do think that this one was thought out for once. I loved Samoa Joe and Kevin Owens together. The promo that they cut backstage was amazing. I believe that the two together should be called Joans. And I think that's how we're going to refer to them officially going forward right now. Press F in the chat to show to pay respects to Joans, even though he's not dead. See him, Phil. Good to see you. Joans forever. But my only problem here, the only problem I had, is why were Samoa Joe and Kevin Owens and then Seth Rollins and AOP being escorted out of the building? Not F you, Kristen, F. Why were they being escorted out of the building if they were just doing wrestler stuff. Pardon me for my throat tonight. A little frog there. That's one thing I don't understand. That's one thing I don't get. They're doing wrestler stuff. They're attacking each other. They're jumping each other. That's what you're supposed to do. They did the same thing last week with Kevin Owens, asking him to leave the premises. Now they're doing it again this week, but they did it with all the guys. And I was kind of disappointed. And Seth Rollins said when he was leaving, because now he considers himself the messiah of WWE. That's fine, and I'm okay with it. It works for him. It's perfect. As he was going on, he was saying, the minute I leave this building, the show's going to go downhill. And boy, was he right! Oh, Nelly. Outside of another set of cool beans that I'm going to give to Aleister Black versus Buddy Murphy, by God, that was good. My God, from the sit-down head games to begin with, that punt off the second rope to Murphy, while he was on the turnbuckle, which was so good. They were slaying into each other so hard, going really strong style onto each other. Murphy even overshot his tope con hilo that he hit on the outside, and he almost killed himself. The Meteora, he said, look, this was great. And, there's a lot of people saying, let's keep this going. And of course you want to keep seeing these two wrestle together. They have fantastic chemistry. They're not afraid of pain. They're not afraid of violence. So yeah, of course you want to see more of them. You want to see more of them going at each other. But WWE is going to drag this into the ground. Now, if this were New Japan, if this was an angle in New Japan, we could probably expect them to stay apart from each other for a while and then use the story of Buddy Murphy fighting Aleister Black twice and not being able to overcome and weave it into their next fight. Because then it becomes a story of Buddy Murphy needs to improve to defeat Aleister Black. So Murphy goes out, wrestles a couple of guys, then comes back to Aleister. They eventually come around in whatever context, a G1 match or whatever. And then he uses some new techniques to try and take down Aleister Black. And does he succeed? Or is Aleister still on another level than him? And that would be really, really interesting. That would be something it would be a lot of fun if WWE would do that, but they won't. because to them, a feud is an income. It happens like within a 3 to 4 month period, and that's it. And then we'll come back to it if it's interesting in a few months. Otherwise, it's forgotten. The history is written off. But if they gave this feud some room to breathe, let Buddy Murphy go off, beat some dudes, come back, feel a little more assured to take on Aleister, it'd be fantastic. But no, that's not what we're going to get. That's not what we're going to get at all, which is a shame. But I mean, nonetheless, this was a fantastic match. Randy Orton swerve, by the way, that's some cool beans as well right here. The cool beans. Don't worry. Not everything is cool beans. You trust me. We're getting there. Randy Orton swerve was really good. I felt WWE was leaning a little too much into kayfabing us into believing there was the injury. It just felt something felt a little off. I found it to be a little strange. He was the last Monday, or the Monday before, he had his knee taped up and they had worked on it during the match. Then suddenly it gives out at a house show on Sunday, and now he's coming to announce his retirement. I'm like, However, he did a fantastic job. There was a moment where I was like, oh, this might actually be real. But when AJ came out and kicked the crutch, I was like, yeah, no, this will work. And what a great work it was. What a beautiful RKO he hit. And you haven't been this excited for a Randy Orton feud since his feud with Jeff Hardy. Yes, I'm telling you what to feel. I'm actually transposing myself. I'm like, hey, I haven't felt this excited. I really haven't. Just before we get into other categories here, I want to say hello to Enzon, Heavy J. Welcome to the chat tonight, folks. And yes, everyone, there's a lot of people who want noodles tonight. I don't know why. All right, we're going to talk about it, folks. We're going to talk about the wedding. This is why you're here, right? This is the moment to tweet out. You say, hey, everyone, Warren Hayes is going to talk about the wedding. He's gonna bury it. He hates the wedding. Of course he's going to hate it. He's going to give it hot trash. Swerve! I'm giving it some warm soda. As opposed to this delicious cold water here. The wedding in and about itself. Let's nuance stuff here. The wedding in and about itself was stupid and ultimately just absurd and over the top, and it's a question of whether you like that kind of shit or not. It was fine. Lana squealing at the audience to shut up. The first the first husband who comes out and declares that he's still married, blah, blah, blah. Then the first wife comes out, it was my first, and Rusev popping out of the cake. We had all called it on Twitter. Rusev was in the cake and beat up Lashley. I mean, that to me that's a wrestling wedding. And I was at the moment where I was like, you know what? If this is the payoff to all the garbage that we had to endure regarding Bobby Lashley and Lana throughout all these weeks, fine. I'm okay. Wrestling weddings are meant to be over the top, ridiculous, and stupid. But that's not my main problem. My main problem is Liv, and not Liv in about herself. It's this coming out angle that they decided to do with her, to decide to make Liv a lesbian. Not because I have a problem with lesbians. I don't have a problem with gay people on any level. I have relatives who are gay. I have friends who are gay. There's probably people that I see every day. Well, I know I have coworkers who are gay, come to think of it. And maybe some that I just don't know about it. And it doesn't matter. Honestly, it doesn't matter. My problem comes with the fact that the tonal problem comes with the tone that they were trying to create here and ended up just serving no one, actually doing a disservice to a whole bunch of things. The angle in and about itself, the Lashley-Lana thing from the get-go was so tabloidish and over the top and shocking and shock. And the wedding itself, former husbands appear, former wives. They've all been married before. And it's all over the top. We're squealing into microphones. We're going, blah, this is ridiculous. Ooh-wee-pee-wee. Liv comes out. She announces that she also had a relationship. Turns out it's with Lana. But the mood changed when Liv came out. Instead of coming down to the ring going, wait a minute, I object. She came out and she was very poised. She was very serious. She made us believe, they made us believe in the angle here for a second because she felt heartbroken. It felt like she was holding back tears. There was a moment happening that was very, very real. And then when it's announced that she came for Lana, everyone goes, oh my goodness. So she came out for shock value. And I'm going to tell you, there's nothing shocking in our day and age about someone being a homosexual or having homosexual relationships or whatever. It doesn't matter. And to pull this off well, it would have been good if the tone had been brought down and become a little more serious. I think it would have help both Lana and Liv in this situation, to pay it off in a way that was satisfying, where it would give both of these women some form of motivation outside of catfighting into some cake. They just wanted to create another shock angle through a same-sex relationship, just a shock angle for the sole purpose of screwing up the wedding and creating some sort of illicitness about it, as if, you know, anytime this kind of same-sex stuff happens, it has to be shocking. But it's not anymore. And, you know, not sometimes, but a lot of people who are deep into the ratings analysis like to point out that there are no young people, millennials, watching wrestling these days. And why would they? This is not shocking to anyone who is under 30. It's not like, oh. There's no one that's still really surprised by this stuff, unless you're a little on the old side. And guess what kind of demographic WWE is getting? And it also fascinates me that they felt that they had to make over her entire character from, you know, punk rock kind of attitude, Liv, into and they had to convert her into wanting to take baths and put on suits, you know, and you know, whatever you want, so that she can be a credible lesbian. Because, you know, I know that there are gay people that you know, there is no mold for gay people, for LGBTQ people at all. It's a really, really strange thing, and I didn't like it. And the tonal dissonance here just underscored how completely disconnected WWE is to just basic social issues. And I know a lot of people are like, well, they already have a lesbian. They have Sonya. Why didn't they have her do the thing? That's the point, actually. You don't need to underscore it, and you didn't need to bring Sonya in here again for the shock value, because it's the question of the issue here is them feeling that they had to up the ante for and introduce a lesbian character to add shock to this angle. That's the ultimate payoff that they gave here. And it doesn't connect. It doesn't connect. And it's not, it ain't that. It ain't that at all. So that's what I think about Raw this week in WWE. Let's talk a bit about NWA Power. I got to see that. It was a good show this week. I really like the Nick Aldis and Tim Storm angle, how it played out this week again. Nick Aldis turned heel. He introduced the fact that that Nick Aldis introduced the fact that that his stable has a name now. They're called Strictly Business. I love how this is playing out. I really, really do. The angle is fantastic. Storm's the promos that they cut at the start of the match, at the start of the show, I should say. You know, Tim Storm again being very authentic, hard on sleeve kind of guy. All this comes out very egotistical, disingenuous. He says, "Oh, I just wanted to get into the TV title tournament, Tim, just for fun. I've beaten everyone here. I just needed something to prove. I want to get 2 belts, and you're taking this so seriously. Holy, look at you. I'm here. You know, you're in your gear, ready to go. I'm like, hey, I'm chilling here." I think this is great. It's a great dichotomy between the two. And then later on, Aldis pulls out of the match and sends and sends in a substitute to take over the match. Fun angle. I like it. I think it's really good. Also, as far as cool beans go, I really, really like Aaron Stevens. He was putting on a submissions exhibition, which I thought was really, really funny, taking out a jobber, and then it turns into a match with Trevor Murdoch, who came out after the submission exhibition, and he said that he didn't care for Stevens sticking his nose into his match at Into the Fire, and he didn't care about the fact that Stevens is coming out here to humiliate young guys or just trying to make a name for themselves, and I like that. It's a very, very old school motivation. I like that. This is the kind of stuff that really, really works in the context of the NWA. But Aaron Stevens, he's so good, and but there's one thing that we just have to we have to come to grips with here. He's a comedy guy. He's a comedy guy. That's what he's doing in NWA. And I swear, I don't want to hear anyone coming towards me saying, oh, NWA, it's good old-fashioned wrestling, no nonsense. We do have nonsense in NWA. Aaron Stevens does comedy wrestling, and he's great at it, and it's fun. I don't have a problem with it. I love comedy wrestling. But I just wanted to point that out because that's exactly what he's doing. We're going to give out some more cool beans. I'm going to give out there's really was a lot of good stuff. And I think there's stuff in WWE that happened this week that overshadowed a lot of the good stuff that happened in WWE and in wrestling discussions in general. Because, god damn, AEW Dynamite last night was so good. It was so good. Anthony Gaston. Hello, welcome to the chat. And D-Generation MC is here as well. Jason PS3. Hey, look at all you guys coming in. I think AEW Dynamite last night was, excuse me, it was a near flawless wrestling show last night. I really, really do believe so. It was great stuff from top to bottom. A few nitpicky things. I think the first hour was extremely strong as opposed to the second, but a really, really entertaining show. I mean, the show started off with Cody versus Darby Allin, where we see Arn Anderson appear for the first time as the coach of the Nightmare Family, and I love that. I think that's great. And he was at some point, Cody even went to get advice from Arn, and I don't know if you guys probably saw this because you guys are smart. You listen to the MrWarrenHayes show. And Cody goes over to get some advice, and Arn puts up like a sheet of paper up to his mouth, to cover his lips, like he's in the NFL. There's lip reading. Or I thought that was fantastic. And man, Darby Allin, he's so good. He's so bloody good. That springboard back elbow he hit, his tope suicida, where he just launched himself shoulder first into Cody on the outside, not putting his arms first, not like pushing Cody. He launched his body into him. He hits a top rope code red, the coffin drop on the apron, just like he did and their match earlier last summer. He kicks out of a crossroads, for God's sake. It was so good. He's so good. Cody ends up picking the win when Arn Anderson tells him to put up his knees because Darby's coming off the top rope with the coffin drop. And I get why they had to do the win this way, to put over the fact that Arn is useful and he will have an influence on Cody winning matches or not. But I would have been okay with another time limit draw. I really would have been okay with another time limit draw. It would have been fantastic. It really would have been okay. I don't know. But, I mean, nitpicking, this was a great match. Another great match, more cool beans here. The women's match, Riho retaining her title against Nyla Rose, Britt Baker, and Hiraku Shida. Man. Again, here I think we've had the best AEW women's match so far. It was really, really good. and it played to everyone's strengths. You could tell that Riho and Shida have the most experience from all four because they really governed the match. This was, there was a bit of smoke and mirrors on Britt Baker to make sure that she wasn't too exposed. It played off of Nyla's strengths. That senton through the table that she did from the apron onto Shida through the table, that was grotesque but wonderful. Although I didn't quite dig the rope hang situation where Nyla rope hung Shida over the top rope, and then Shida sort of hung over the top rope while Nyla went to the top rope and then jumped off for a guillotine leg drop. That I didn't care for. That's Del Rio stomp territory for me. I didn't like it, but it's a minor nitpick. This match was great. It was fantastic. I was a little surprised at the result. A lot of people thought that it was that the ending had been telegraphed since they had already announced Chris Statlander versus Rio for next week. But I mean, I kind of thought that at some point they were going to give Shida the title because, my God, she's good. She's really, really, really good. It's crazy. And I know, like, right now there's a lot of people who are a little cold on Riho because she hasn't been around much. She hasn't been defending the title. Well, I don't have that much of an issue with it. I really don't. She has her obligations in Japan. Let her fulfill them. I don't know what her contract status is. Let's just see where this goes. If she comes and she puts on great matches like this, honestly, I don't have that much of an issue with it. I really don't. Like the idea that they might be turning Britt Baker heel. It works for me. I think that the babyface shtick is a little tired and a little contrived and forced now. Nothing like a little heel turn to come back to your babyface self a little later on, a little more energized. I think that could be really good. More cool beans to Mox versus Trent. Man, when I saw this match announced, this was one I got really excited for. Probably the match I was the most excited to watch. I felt like these guys would work really well together, and they did. They have such great chemistry. They were working strong style on each other. The lariats that they were trading at some point during the match, they were just lighting each other up. The Orange Cassidy spot was funny, where he stuck his hands in his pockets, and Mox was like, "Yeah, I can stick my hands in my pockets too. I wrestle in jeans too." I thought that was funny. It was a strong physical match. Trent really held his own. I dug this. I dug it a lot. And that this was a lot of fun. So did Sammy Guevara versus Dustin Rhodes. I'm not sure what to think about Jack Hager and Dustin Rhodes down the road, but right here, the build-up, at least this match here, this was great. And Dustin Rhodes, man, it's amazing. The guy's 50 years old, and he can go so hard still. He really, really, really can go. And it's fantastic how he can. It's impressive to me. And he does things in the ring that he doesn't need to do anymore. You know what I mean? He's proven everything he had to. I think he needs to prove it to himself that he can still hang. And we were talking about this on the Wednesday Night Wars podcast last night for Fightful, where Alex was bringing up the idea, and he's absolutely right, that what Dustin is doing in this final part of his career, because we can only assume that we're heading towards the end. How far away we are, I can't tell, to be honest, with the way he's wrestling. I feel like he could do this for another 10 years. But, we are in the final stretch. Let's put it that way. I don't want to put him out to pasture. Far from it. But you guys know what I mean. And Alex was saying last night, what he's doing here is he's building himself a reputation, a legacy, for that whoever retires him will get a hell of a rub. And he's right. The legacy that he's creating here as a true legend going out on top, whenever that happens, is absolutely correct. Whoever will, and this is something that 3 years ago, no one was actually thinking about. But, it's like, well, whoever takes out Dustin Rhodes, that's not a big deal. But now it will be. And I was comparing this to what NWA is doing with Tim Storm for Power. There, Tim Storm is another guy. He's 54. And they're positioning him in the same way. He's the older, grizzled veteran who can still go. And yes, he can still wrestle. But his best years are behind him. He's not doing the Dustin Rhodes stuff. And the legacy that they're creating for Tim is very, very much storyline based. It's very, very kayfabe. And that's all right, because that's what wrestling is about. It's about telling stories. But Dustin is going out there and proving to us that he has the stuff of legend. He's still going. He still goes. And the final stretch of his career is going to be so goddamn memorable that when he does retire, it is going to be a big deal. NWA can tell us it's going to be a big deal for Tim Storm, and ultimately it will because he had a great career, but it won't have the same gravitas as it is the case here. The last thing I want to talk about is Hangman Page, who's hitting the bottle a little bit. He's spiraling, it would seem. I'm reserving I'm reserving full and final judgment just to see where they go with this, because I don't know what their intentions are. I'm going to tell you this much. Right now, as of last night, there's that same tone differentiation, the same tonal problem that WWE had with Liv and that they had with Liv and the whole wedding angle that night. When Hangman Page crashes a private party promo and goes for a bottle, I think it's Quen who turns around at him and he says, "Buddy, yeah, you're going for it again. It seems to me you're going a little harder. We're worried about you a bit, man." And Page sort of shrugs him off, and I'm like, "Oh, this is interesting." If they're accentuating the fact that Hangman has a problem and people are starting to get worried about it, there's something there. But then the next time we see him, he's doing his take with the glass and you caught me having a sip of whiskey, and it's written on his nameplate, has been drinking, So they're making light out of it. They're joking about it. Commentary is also putting it over, Jim Ross saying, "Oh, you can buy yourself all the White Russians you have. You have all the money, And I know it's a TV show. And I know that alcoholism is portrayed in other television shows. That's fine. I get that. All right. And I'm not coming out with a full-on condemnation and saying this should not be done. But I'm going to be keeping, trust me on this, I'm going to be keeping a very close eye on how this is handled. And why do you ask? Because the wrestling business has always had a very tenuous relationship with addiction. There are so many stars who have had their careers shortened, their lives ended because of substance abuse and drugs and alcohol as well. We can talk about Jeff Hardy and his situation. That's one thing, but you can also think about Jake Roberts, right? You can think about Hawk, Scott Hall. It helped shorten the life of Eddie Guerrero. Kurt Angle destroyed a good portion of his life. That's one of the reasons why WWE he had to leave WWE for a while, because they couldn't endorse him anymore. Lex Luger. We have seen on television wrestlers in the past battling live before our eyes their addictions, going into matches in states that they should not have been in the first place. Hey, not even that long ago, Naomi Fox, not Naomi, Foxy. Oh, I'm drawing a blank. What's her first name? Excuse me. Foxy. Alicia Fox. Thank you, Benoit. Alicia Fox sent into rehab. I think it's Jimmy Uso. Same problem. The addictions are real because of the life on the road, because of a whole bunch of things. Wrestlers are in a position to take better care of their bodies now. There's been advances in training, in nutrition, in medication that help them cope better with the pain as they go along. It's not the same thing as it was in the 80s and 90s where they were just given a bottle of painkillers and a bottle of vodka and just do what you need to be able to wrestle tonight kind of thing, you know? But Alicia was sent to therapy as well. All I'm saying is I think it's very, very ballsy of AEW to do an addiction storyline in wrestling. I've seen one before that was all too real. The whole Hawk thing. I remember seeing that. Where they brought it up to the point where Hawk tried to commit suicide on television. You know, of course, all kayfabe, but it was still very uncomfortable because his problems were very real. And the problems are still very real for a lot of guys and girls who are in the business. So I'm reserving judgment. I don't necessarily think it's poorly done right now, but I will say that they have a tonal dissonance and they're going to have to find the path with that. If it leads to Adam Page hitting rock bottom only to rise himself back up, I can get behind that. But if it's going to be Adam Page, the lovable drunk, silly whiskey drinking cowboy, that I'm not quite sure. Well, there you have it, folks. We're going to wrap it up on that for the weekly wrestling inspection. Do not forget, in case you have already, that after the show here on patreon.com/MrWarrenHayes, we're going to continue talking more wrestling. We're going to be talking about the NWA, not the NWA. I talked about the NWA, the NXT year-end awards. That's what we're going to be talking about. That's going to be a lot of fun. And yeah, so it's a good, the month just started, so it's a good time to jump in and get all sorts of new content, which, by the way, will also include exclusively for Patreons, the live recording of my NWA Power recaps. I'm going to be doing them on the Patreon. So if you want to sign up there, join me live for that. That'll be great. And the recording of that will be available for everyone on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes the next day. But patrons get to join me live. They get early access. You want to become a patron, or you can also just send me a super chat here as well, and we can talk about super chats. But you know what else we're going to talk about? This is what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about Wrestle Kingdom 14 predictions. That's happening this weekend. 2 nights. Tokyo Dome. January 4th, January 5th. It's a big, big show. And I'm really stoked for it because there's some really, really interesting stuff on the upper card, right? I mean, there's some great stuff. And why don't we go through a few predictions then? Why don't we talk about les prédictions and then that'll be that. On the first night, I'm gonna skip the pre-show matches. We have Yuji Nagata and Nakanishi versus Tenkozy. Whatever. These, this is a bit of the situation where they're going to try and put as many people on the card as possible. Tenkozy are a legendary tag team in New Japan, as legendary as a tag team can be in New Japan. Let's put it that way. So I could see Tenkozy winning, but it doesn't really matter. Then you have a Young Lions match with Hanma and Makabe versus Toa Hanare and Carl Fredericks and other Clark Connors. Basically, the New Japan Dojo versus the LA Dojo. Whatever. I mean, it'll be fun. It'll be some good little warm-ups. Main card, we have LIJ's Bushi, Takagi, Evil, and Sonata versus the Suzuki Gun, combination of El Desperado, Taichi, Zack Sabre Jr., and Minoru Suzuki. I still think it is a tragedy that Minoru Suzuki doesn't have a singles match at Wrestle Kingdom this year. It blows my mind. I really don't understand. I really don't understand why he's not having a match. So I think that the Suzuki-gun faction is going to win, although I could be wrong, and honestly, it doesn't really matter. We have another 8-man tag, this time between Chaos and Bullet Club. Bullet Club composed of Kenta, Chase Owens, Yujiro Takahashi, the Tokyo Pimp, and Bad Luck Fale versus Hiroki Goto, Tomohiro Ishii, my man, Toru Yano, and Yoshihashi. I would give this win to Chaos with my eyes closed if it weren't for the fact that they have to carry Yoshihashi through this match. Well, I'm not quite sure. Now, Chaos is probably going to pick this one up. I would say it's very, very much the Bullet Club B team here outside of Kenta. Very, very much so. The first of two retirement matches for Jushin Thunder Liger. This is the old homie night where he gets together a whole bunch of old rivals, partners into one ring, another 8-man tag. So Jushin Thunder Liger with Tatsumi Fujinami, the Great Sasuke, and Tiger Mask versus Sano, Shinjiro Otani, Takiyawa, and Rizuki Taguchi. And apparently Kobayashi is going to be ringside there as well, as is El Samurai over on Liger's side. I think Liger's team is going to pick up the win here. This kind of blows your mind here because these are all certified Japanese legends that are going to be in this match. It won't be the most death-defying experience that you'll ever see, but there is something very humbling to see this match, to see all these guys who are, will do stuff to the extent of their ability, being there to give a send-off to one of the greatest of all time. I think there's something very, very fantastic here. IWGP Tag Team Champions, the Gorillas of Destiny versus FinJuice. Have we talked about the fact that I don't really care that Dave Finlay and Juice Robinson won World Tag League? Have we talked about that at all? I think it's kind of stupid. And Gorillas of Destiny should maintain the titles here. And Juice and Finlay, these guys are, look, they've been trying to do stuff with Juice for so long. I don't know what they're trying to do with them. I really don't. But the thing here, and this I know I've talked about before here, that the tag team division in New Japan is non-existent. Who really cares? Who really cares what happens in this match? What's the other established? There's two other established tag teams. Established tag teams in New Japan right now. There's Evil and Sonata, and even then, they tried to keep them apart as much as possible throughout 2019, try to give them singles pushes, which I think is much more beneficial, especially for a guy like Sonata. But the other tag team that's really established is Roppongi 3K. And Roppongi 3K are in the junior heavyweight tag team division, which is stupid. Because there aren't any more tag teams there either. It's just dumb. The Killer Elite Squad broke up. The Young Bucks left. They took the Best Friends with them. And that was it. There's nothing left as far as tag teams go in New Japan. It was already very thin to begin with. Now it's just absurd. We're getting a Texas Death Match for the IWGP United States Championship. Champion Lance Archer is going to defend against Jon Moxley. I am looking forward to this because these guys are pretty much cut from the same cloth. It's going to be violent. It's going to be vile. I don't know how much. They're calling it a death match, but I don't know how death matchy we're going to get here. because New Japan is it's gotten a little soft in regards to the hardcore stuff. But we'll see. Like, I don't think it's going to be a light tube death match kind of thing. I really don't. But it's going to be entertaining as hell. Are you kidding me? Moxley and Archer going after each other. It's going to be great. I believe Jon Moxley is going to win the U.S. title. Gasp, yes. Because I've been told that Lance Archer is on a tour-by-tour contract basis with them, with New Japan. Like, he wasn't expecting everything that happened to him in 2019. They gambled with him and it paid off. And he's probably had arguably the best run that he's had since coming out of Impact. Even the one in Impact wasn't all that great. I mean, look, you'll understand my reasoning when we get to night 2. I'm not going to give any spoilers. But yeah, I think there's something here. Devil Kazuya 27, hello, and welcome to the chat. All right, so yeah, I lost my place. Oh, yes. Here we go. IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion Will Ospreay will defend against Hiromu Takahashi. Just plug that directly into every one of my life-giving orifices. Every one of them. I can't wait for this. This is the match I am most excited about the entire weekend. Hiromu is a special talent. I am so glad he's back. I am terrified at what he's going to do. I'm terrified at what Will Ospreay is going to have him do. But this is going to be fantastic. Hiromu going after the title that he never lost, coming back from a year-long injury. An injury that he wasn't really supposed to come back from. But he did. So he's back. And I think he's going to win his title back. Gonna go back where it belongs. As for the main events, we're going to talk about them all in one same block for night 1 and night 2. If that's okay, because they directly impact each other, right? On the pre-show for night 2, we have a gauntlet match for the never openweight 6-man tag championships. Honestly, I couldn't give more of a shit. I don't care about the 6-man tag titles. I don't even remember when was the last time. I don't even remember when the last time we had a 6-man tag title match. I really don't. It's just stupid. Then we have the second of Jushin Liger's retirement matches. He and longtime rival Sano are going to be taking on Ryu Lee, formerly known as Dragon Lee, and Hiromu Takahashi, current rivals. Lee being the guy who almost ended Takahashi's career. So either on either side. I think Takahashi gets the pin on Liger. It's a passing of the torch. The two storied rivals from the past to the two rivals of the future. I think it's, the two aces of the division, past and present, literally a passing of the torch. Liger goes on in his back like any good wrestler should on his retirement match. It's going to be an emotional moment. There's going to be a lot of crying because Liger is, we throw the word legend around quite a bit, very haphazardly sometimes. But Liger is a legitimate legend in the Oxford Dictionary sense of it. So can't wait to see how this one turns out. IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship, Roppongi 3K versus El Fantasmo and Taiji Ishimori. Roppongi 3K. Again, it's hard for me to get excited for the titles. And I mean, the match is going to be fine. It's just, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't. However, let's talk about the Revolution Pro British Heavyweight Championship. Champion Zack Sabre Jr. defending against Sanada. I think Sanada gets this one. I think Sonata picks up the win. A nice little thank you for the wonderful, wonderful year that Sonata had fighting Kazuchika Okada on 3 different occasions. He had a stellar year. He had a breakthrough year. Ended with the win at Wrestle Kingdom. I think it would be fantastic. Zack Sabre Jr. then goes backstage, blames Boris Johnson for the loss in a brilliant promo. It cannot be anything else. He has to lose because I want the Boris Johnson promo. Never openweight champion Kenta defends against Hiroki Goto. I kind of think Goto might actually win this because he also had an above average a year, let's call it that. He had a really good G1. Made it to the finals, just couldn't get the job done. Challenge for the IC title, couldn't get it done, but I could see him picking it up here. And these two guys could really, really lay into each other. That's what I think. Whatever happens, this is going to be a nice, strong match. I'm looking forward to it. Let's see here. Oh, there's a little match happening as well. I don't know if you ever heard of this guy. There's Hiroshi Tanahashi. Yeah, maybe you've heard of him. Against another guy that maybe you've heard about. He's a North American wrestler. He's wrestled in a couple of places. His name is Chris Jericho. They're having a match here. Now, the thing that's making this probably the most intriguing match of the weekend. I'm not saying the best match or the most special match, but the most intriguing match of the weekend. Chris Jericho has said that if Tanahashi beats him at Wrestle Kingdom, Tanahashi will get a shot at the AEW Championship title. Now, of course, that sent everyone into a tizzy. Is this the start of a New Japan relationship with? Is this the start of a New Japan relationship with AEW? Is that where we're going? Is this where we're heading? It's some very, very interesting stuff. I personally, I think both companies would benefit tremendously from working with each other. The talent exchanges would be extraordinary. And I don't know if you saw the newest edition of Wrestlers Ordering Room Service, the one with Kenny Omega and the Bucks. It felt to me there was a little bridge mending regarding New Japan when they were talking about their New Japan experience and how they exited and so on. Kenny wasn't quite as adamant as he had been a couple of months ago, where he was talking about the stories I could tell. They don't want me to go back into Japan. Who's they? It felt like they were trying to smooth things over. I thought that was really interesting. There's some subtle cues being dropped here. I am going to pop major if Painkiller Chris Jericho steps into the Tokyo Dome with the AEW title around his waist. I'm going to pop hard if that happens. And if Tanahashi wins, 2020 has all the potential to be wilder than 2019 as far as professional wrestling goes. That's crazy. And we know they're not going to work with Impact because they got kicked off of Access, and it's been it's been rumored, at least that the Observer has been saying that Impact said to New Japan, you guys can stay on Access TV if we develop a working relationship, and New Japan said, nah, we're good. That's fine. We'll be okay. I'm really, really excited to see what comes out of this. But okay, let's talk about the double main events, the 4 main eventers. On night 1, we have for the Intercontinental Championship, we have Tetsuya Naito. Tetsuya Naito versus Jay White. And for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship, we have champion Kazuchika Okada defending against Kota Ibushi. Now, as you know, The winner of these two matches, both winners of these two matches are going to meet in the main event of night 2, and whoever wins is going to win 2 belts. That's really interesting. I don't know where they're going with that, but that's still very interesting. I believe that on night 1, much to my Naito fan sensibilities, Jay White is going to retain the Intercontinental Championship. And Kazuchika Okada is going to retain the IWGP Heavyweight Championship, leading us into the main event of night 2, being Kazuchika Okada versus Jay White. Jay White, I've said it on this show, I've said it multiple times, he is the best heel in the business. Bar none, all companies smushed together, he's your man. No one wants to see him win. People pay money to see this guy lose. That's what a heel is. Okada is the man. He is the man. If 2019 was a rebuilding year for New Japan, since the Elite all picked up and left, and they strapped on the title to Tanahashi at the beginning of the year because in case of emergency, that's what you do. You get the ace of New Japan and you tell him come save the day. Well, Okada carries the weight now. And he's been carrying the weight since regaining the title. I don't see any other outcome moving into 2020 to start it off with Okada holding both belts and just imposing himself as the ultimate true final boss again, so that they can continue building great stars under to go and challenge him. Now, I'm not going to get into 2020 booking yet, because as far as New Japan goes, they could surprise us, and I hope they do. I like surprises, but we really have to see. You have to wait till New Year's Dash is really done to really get a proper, or at least some kind of inclination of where they want to go with stuff moving forward. Because right now, it's still so incredibly ambiguous. But a big win. Storytelling time. Huge main event. White versus Okada. They have a storied past. New Japan loves their storied pasts. There's always unfinished business. These guys are rivals. It's the light and the darkness. Jay White is the guy that drove Okada to madness. Okada rose to defeat him again. Jay White wants to strike him down again. I love it. It's a great story. It tells itself. You get those two guys in the ring and they win. They win the evening for sure. And Okada wins the match and he retains. And that's where I think they're going to go moving forward. And as I was talking about this with JPQ on his show not too long ago, I was telling John, there's a New Japan Tour of America that's coming up in January. Who's your draw? Who do people who come to see a New Japan show want to see the New Japan wrestlers? They want to have the New Japan experience, so they want to see Okada, Kazuchika Okada, bona fide star, legitimate champion, come out as a champion. That's what I really feel they're going to angle towards. Because if it was me, as far as Kota Ibushi and Tetsuya Naito go on night 2, honestly, at that point, I don't really care. If they had given the match any kind of stake, any kind, winner of the match gets first crack at the title, at the heavyweight title on New Year's Dash, that would have added some kind of excitement to it. But at this point, I don't care what their match is going to be about, and I don't care about the result. It's going to be good, but I don't care about the result. And it's one of these situations where it's hard to predict because the booking could go many multiple ways. But if it goes the way I think it's going to go, I think that the smart thing to do on night 2 is to give Ibushi the win, because I think he needs it more than Naito. And Naito then spends the rest of 2020 trying to prove to himself that he still has it, because he's going to have failed on the biggest stage 2 nights in a row. I think that's an interesting story to say as well. But Okada, man, it's going to be something special. I'm really, really excited for it. I think it's so good to start the year with such an exciting show, something so good. And it's like I tweeted out after Raw on Monday, the good thing about Raw this Monday is that it got me really excited to watch New Japan to watch Wrestle Kingdom this weekend. So remember, if you're watching live right now, so just open up another tab, go on my YouTube channel, and you'll see the streams right there. Hit some reminders and come and join me very early in the morning, immediately after the shows. I'm going to be doing the post shows. Saturday will be with Anthony Suter of Smart to Death. Sunday is going to be with JPQ of the No Particular Angle podcast. And it's going to be a good time. And I'm going to be sleepy-eyed, and I'm going to be confused at some point. Maybe I'll even have a nap as John is talking. That could be possible. Maybe I'll just have a nap and let Anthony do the show. You never know. That's the kind of unpredictable stuff that you'll just have to show up to find out. But Eric Arsenal, by the way, hello, how are you? Didn't see you there, but I'm glad you popped in. And I'm saying hello as I'm saying goodbye. I want to thank everyone for joining me here this evening for this edition of the Mr. Warren Hayes show. Tomorrow night on Sean's channel, I'll be there for the SmackDown post show. Saturday, do come on Saturday and Sunday. We're gonna have a fantastic time. So there you have it, and thank you all. Heading over to the post stream right now, patreon.com/MrWarrenHayes. We're going to talk about NXT end of year awards. Everybody, thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you next time, whenever that is. I don't